Should our concerns for the future be more about disruption than change? We all hit snooze on our alarm clock, but in the case of climate change, disruptive technologies may smash that clock altogether. At some point in the 1980s, I remember watching a television show called Towards 2000. They spoke about this amazing new device called the fax. You could put a document in and it would print somewhere else. Amazing! My children don't know what a fax is. It happened so fast. 1 minute it was an amazing invention, the next minute it was here, the next minute it was outdated. Now we send a document through thin air using Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. It was amazing how quick the transition was. I didn't even acknowledge it until I was asked to send a fax a few years ago at work, and I found myself thinking it was archaic. At this point, I had never heard the term disruptive technology. To be honest, I hadn't heard it a week ago. I heard the term disruptive technologies for the first time 2 days ago. It's a troubling term, but it's also brought me more hope for the future than I've had for a long time. Where did I hear it? From my partner who had watched a YouTube clip. The link's in the description. So with just 3 disruptions in key sectors, Rethink X project that we humans can eliminate 90% of net greenhouse gas emissions globally by 2035, largely because the technologies we need to achieve that goal all exist today and are either ready to deploy to market or are already deployed and can be scaled up immediately. And we won't need governments to impose draconian restrictions and austerity measures either, because the new technologies will just be better and cheaper than the old ones. What is a disruptive technology? Disruptive technology can be defined as new technology that completely changes the way things are done. Rethink X predicted the fastest, deepest, most consequential technological disruption in history, and with it, a moment civilization has never encountered before. Rethink X might be onto something. It's all about exponential growth and feedback loops. As new technology develops, it can disrupt its sector by becoming better and cheaper. Market forces will then take over, and as the technology becomes better and cheaper, demand increases, giving it more market share and ultimately forcing out the old technology. In their own words, Rethink X is an independent think tank that analyses and forecasts the speed and scale of technology-driven disruption and its implications across society. When the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, released their 2014 Climate Assessment Report, they predicted that by the time renewable energy sources reach 10,000 terawatt-hours of electricity generation, it would only represent 4% of the world's total energy capacity. Their timeline indicated this would happen in 2100. Rethink X, on the other hand, postulated that due to the exponential growth of renewable energy technologies, 10,000 terawatt-hours of electricity generation would be generated by these sources by 2030. That prediction is 70 years earlier than the IPCC estimate, which was based on a more linear progression. Current data supports the exponential growth predicted by Rethink X. This gives credibility to the think tank and hope for our energy future. Assuming Rethink X is correct in their predictions, we can expect more decarbonisation in our future, as well as significant rewilding opportunities. As with most disruptive technology, these changes will occur thanks to the feedback loop created by the economic impact of technology across 3 key sectors. Sector 1 is solar voltaics, onshore wind and lithium-ion batteries. When I was growing up, the consensus was that these renewable energy sources were a good idea but prohibitively expensive. Since then, prices have decreased and efficiency has increased. Economic analysis of the cost curves indicates enough consistency to predict an ongoing reduction in prices in the future. A huge advantage of these technologies is that they can be installed almost anywhere. Decentralizing energy production will mean that it can be localized and democratized. Indeed, anyone who has watched the brilliant documentary 2040 will know that this is already happening. In developing countries, communities are already using solar energy to create their own power grids and share power. Sector 2 is transport. Here's something that blew my mind. Apparently, a large proportion of greenhouse gases result from the transport of fossil fuels and internal combustion engine vehicles. If our transport system changes, this problem could be mitigated in more ways than one. In the first place, if internal combustion engine vehicles are no longer being manufactured in 2035 as predicted, then the electric vehicles that replace them will reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Secondly, electric vehicles have a longer lifetime. The impact of this will have a significant impact on industries like freight. Thirdly, the need to use shipping to transport fossil fuels, vehicles with internal combustion engines and components for the vehicles will be phased out over time. The longer-lasting electric vehicles will not need to be replaced as often and therefore will reduce the need for new vehicle transport. Sector 3 is food production. I am struggling with this one. Despite the predicted benefits, I don't like it. I like steak, I like seafood, and I don't like the idea of my food being made in a laboratory. Rethink X predicts that by 2035 we will be eating foods produced by precision fermentation and cellular agriculture. These foods will be 5 times cheaper than the existing animal protein by 2030 and 10 times cheaper by 2035. Here's the part of it that I do like. Potentially this new technology will free up 80% of the 3.3 billion hectares of land currently being used for pasture and cropland. This land can then be used for rewilding and reforestation. The knock-on effect will be opportunities to store a lot of carbon and provide habitat for species that may not survive otherwise. Wouldn't that be wonderful? The downside. There's always a downside, and this one is about people. It's about truck drivers, taxi drivers, farmers and fishermen. People depending on the current technology in these sectors will require support as their industries change. Ultimately, this needs to be attended to by governments in their planning. The other downside is that this progress can be slowed by governments and large companies attempting to prevent the development of the technologies in question. They probably won't succeed, but they can certainly make it difficult and delay the benefits. If this has you interested, I recommend that you have a look at the clip by Just Have a Think. There you can go through the graphs and data, and the way it's expressed is really interesting. This clip and the Rethink X report have given me greater hope than ever for the future, but only time will tell. I wonder what I will think of this piece of writing in 10 years. You can read this article and look at my references by clicking on the link in the description. Thanks for watching and listening. See you next time.